Today, we're diving into the recent blockbuster, The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Before we start, please like, share, and follow our channel if you enjoy this content. Don't forget to hit the notification bell and choose the All button for updates. Thank you. Before we get to the main dish, I'd like to conduct a quick survey for our audience. We've been sticking to reviewing the latest releases, adding some pressure to catch those premieres. However, I also want to recommend some top-notch movies. Yet, when good films are scarce, it gets tough. So, I'm considering introducing a new category, reviewing classic films while tossing in some historical background. This might not pull in the same crowd as the new releases, but if you're into it, drop a 1 in the comments, and we'll adjust our content based on your feedback. Now, let's cut to the chase. Before we dissect the plot, let's address the burning question. Is it worth the watch? If you're expecting the heart-pounding action of the earlier Hunger Games installments, brace yourself for a letdown. Being a prequel, this one serves up the raw, early days of the Hunger Games, with more basic rules and smaller playing fields. Forget the fancy strategies and tetchy stuff, the action scenes don't quite match the earlier excitement. For this type of audience, I would rate it around a 6. Additionally, the female protagonist portrayed by Rachel Zegler lacks the wisdom and strength of Jennifer Lawrence, making it challenging to appreciate her. Moreover, Snow, often referred to as the smartest student, doesn't consistently exhibit the expected intelligence, appearing somewhat foolish. These factors could influence your perception of it. But, if you understand the director's intention, realize that there's more than meets the eye beyond the games, and you might rate it a stellar 7 or beyond. As for those deeper metaphors, I'll save that for the last part. The main storyline of this film, in a nutshell, is the transformation of the fallen aristocrat Snow, portraying the personal descent into darkness of President Snow, the major antagonist in the first 3 Hunger Games films. Divided into 3 chapters, the first sets the stage on the eve of the 10th Hunger Games, a decade post-war that splits society into upper and lower classes. The female lead, a game participant chosen from the lower class, and the male lead, the son of a fallen aristocrat assigned as her mentor. They team up to compete against others. In the second chapter, the female lead saves the male lead's life during an attack. In the final stages of the competition, he helps her cheat and evade snake attacks, and a mutual affection develops between them. Meanwhile, the male lead's good friend, a wealthy and kind-hearted noble youth, dissatisfied with the brutal game, secretly infiltrates the arena to broadcast his mourning process. This action displeases the authorities, and he, along with the male lead, is exiled to District 12, where the female lead resides. In Chapter 3, our once morally upright male lead undergoes a subtle change in mindset after being exiled and yearns to return to the capital. Learning of his friends and the female lead's involvement in a lower-class rebellion, he snitches, leading to his brother's execution. Well, I won't spoil the rest, as that is the most exciting part. As mentioned, the director seems to be throwing in some heavy thoughts. Specifically, he might be tackling a big question. What is the meaning behind the existence of the Hunger Games? Keep in mind, this is just my take, not gospel. Firstly, unlike traditional survival games like Battle Royale and the earlier Hunger Games trilogy where the focus is on the game itself, this film doesn't dwell too much on the game's nitty-gritty. On one hand, the female lead's team lacks formidable foes, and on the other, the director spends ample time unfolding the story's background and the mental shifts of the male lead, Snow. So, is this just another story of a young hero turning into a villain? Yes, but not exactly. Digging deeper, Snow isn't the Walter White of Breaking Bad. Although both were corrupted by the taste of power, Walter White's darkening seems more like a twist of fate, while Snow's shift points more to his surroundings. They may seem similar but have fundamentally different trajectories. For Walter, sans cancer, he might have stuck to teaching chemistry instead of turning into Heisenberg. Despite his thirst for wealth, the world gave him options. Snow, on the other hand, faces a nation operating under a reverse elimination mechanism, leaving him with only 4 choices. First, become a despised lower class, enduring a life of poverty and constant fear. Second, escape. Third, abandon conscience and become an accomplice of the system. You might think Snow could choose the good path, be a kind aristocrat. Yet, in Panem, there are 2 Hunger Games. One for the lower class, one hidden for the elite. Even aristocrats face purging without loyalty, risking marginalization or worse. Take Snow's good-hearted brother Sejanus, marginalized even before Snow's transformation. This tale mirrors reality. Why do all communist nations, USSR and China included, dive into relentless political movements and purges. It's essentially a Hunger Games for both classes. Note that a common misconception is that social classes mean no communism. Nope. Remember the famous slogan from Animal Farm? All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Panem, with its Soviet aesthetics architecture, nails the nation's nature. In this dystopian series, The Hunger Games is more subtle than 1984 and Brave New World. 1984 paints a Soviet-style police state with Big Brother ruling through surveillance and fear, while Brave New World reflects a communism utopia devoid of religion, art, science, with entertainment derived from endless promiscuity and a hallucinogenic drug called soma. The name Panem comes from panem et circenses, Latin for bread in circuses. Bread echoes Soviet fear and charity. In times of scarcity, the populace trades absolute obedience for meager rations, while expressing gratitude to the leaders. Meanwhile, circuses represent the diversion of the populace's attention through entertainment. The Hunger Games combines both, maximizing dictator rule. On one hand, the tribute mechanism instills fear in lower classes. On the other hand, game broadcasts turn it into a nationwide carnival. Critical thinking's tossed aside for entertainment, like Soma and Brave New World. Why does fear solidify dictatorship? Clever system designers understood human nature. People who live in fear for an extended period tend to become isolated islands due to atomization, resulting in a severe loss of empathy. So, when a neighbor's child is chosen, many people's initial reaction is not anger or a desire to rebel but rather comforting themselves with, "At least it's not me," and deriving a sense of happiness from it. Moreover, it provides a false illusion for the lower class. As long as they unquestionably obey and strive hard, there is an opportunity for social mobility, becoming part of the elite. Double happiness, right? At first glance, the United States and Panem seem to have no similarities. Although, in the original novels, Panem is set in the future North American with 13 districts symbolizing the initial American colonies. However, this simplistic mapping is often employed to enhance reader relatability and serve as a caution for Americans. For instance, 1984 sets the story in Airstrip 1, a stand-in for Britain, but we all know it mirrors the Soviet Union. But does it mean Panem lacks American traces? Probably not. Take Snow, for example. He comes from the upper class, believing it's his due to maintain a wealthy lifestyle while enthusiastically displaying sympathy for the lower class, striving to fight for their freedom. He even believes that he and his class bear original sin. He's almost like today's Western progressives or social justice warriors. Snow's transformation, however, is more of a satire on this group. Many kind-hearted upper-class individuals in the film shed tears for a song sung by the female lead. But if you were to ask them to switch places with her, most likely, the answer would be no. In fact, Snow's transformation begins after being exiled to District 12. When displaying kindness aligns with satisfying desires, he can comfortably enjoy the self-satisfaction that moral superiority brings. However, once he has to give up everything and become a lower class, he can't accept it. By any means, he must reclaim what rightfully belongs to him. Like the film's lead becoming President Snow, real-world progressives are turning into dragon-slaying youths. Under the guise of respecting diversity, more evil gets a pass. Under the pretext of sympathizing with the weak, more people become afraid to speak up. America is becoming like Panem, surprising even real-world Snows. Furthermore, excessive entertainment makes Americans abandon critical thinking. TikTok, a real-life Hunger Games broadcast, occupies young people's leisure time. When people get used to experiencing cerebral orgasms within minutes, they naturally abandon deep-level thinking about reality. That's why today's Americans vent emotions and stick to superficial approaches. The most ironic aspect is that this film, for the majority of viewers, will likely only discussing its characters, plot, worldview, or game-setting details. In the end, it might become what it despises most, a part of excessive entertainment. Well, that's all for today. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share our video. And don't forget to ring the bell for updates, so that YouTube's algorithm can better recommend our channel. See ya!